Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.
Welcome one and all to the Werewolf the Podcast. Please remember that if this is your first episode, that's cool. There are loads of different stories within this. We've got 13 series and they all kind of can be started when you want to start them. So yeah, it's not overwhelming. And if it is overwhelming, see if you can do it. Challenge yourself. Listen to more. Anyway, this is Fen. I do some of the writing and some of the talking. Greg does some of the writing and most of the talking. And we have books out there, real books, like you can actually buy from shops and stuff. So if you'd like to buy our books, they're dead good. I mean, mine's all right. Izzy's really good. Anyway, so go do that. There's loads of stuff in the description if you want to support us. And I hope you do. And other than that, enjoy the show because we enjoy making it. Thank you.
Belphastus the Unclaimed. I remember the first time I discovered that misery had a particularly wonderful taste. That sounds rather poetic, doesn't it? I assure you, it wasn't. There were nothing poetic about it. What there were blood. Lots of it. There were mud too. Mostly created from a flow of blood. There were bodies in our states of destruction. 27 of them. I did count them up. The count mattered. They were men, women, children, a travelling troupe. People who'd lived and hunted and slept beneath the same stars as their ancestors had done for generations. Then one day, they fucking killed each other. Nobody remembers their names. That's the funny thing about history. We remember kings, we remember emperors, and we remember conquerors. We even remember saints. But nobody remembers the hunter who died with a stone arrowhead buried in his skull. Nobody remembers his wife. Nobody remembers his children. Well, I do. I remember some of them anyway. It were a long time ago. 9,873 years before the birth of Christ, if you care for such things. I were young then. Not young in the way you mean. I'd already lived longer than most men could imagine. But I was still learning, and I'd just discovered something. I'd just discovered that when a person suffers, something comes out of them. Not blood, not breath, you understand. Something else. Something invisible. Something undeniably delicious. I discovered it almost by accident. One of the women was still alive, you see. I sat in front of her and observed her. She'd watched her husband die. I'd nicked the inside of his thigh where I knew it would pump blood until he were drained. It had taken a lot longer than I'd thought it would. Then I killed her brother. I'd knocked him to the floor, unconscious, crushed him with a large stone until his limbs were broken and useless. Once beyond hope, I smothered him in front of her with a hand over his gob and his nose, taking my time. Allowing him to get his hair back occasionally, and then snatching it away from him again. I don't know if he died of the trauma and shock or the crushed limbs or from the lack of air. Sadly, he did die a bit too quickly for me to get my full fix from the woman. So then I killed her son. That took much longer to do. A sharp flint knife and a steady hand. Peeling and pleading. She sat beside their bodies and screamed. I remember that scream to this day. I remember thinking it was the most terrible, beautiful sound I'd ever heard. And from that scream, I felt sort of warm. I felt stronger, alive. I had not eaten, I had not slept, yet suddenly I felt as though I could lift or control the world. So I experimented. Course I did. What else would an intelligent man such as myself do at a time such as this? I discovered that fear helped me feel good. Grief helped me develop my powers. Hatred was excellent fuel to energize me. Shame were good. Shame were like a drink of fresh cold water after a hard day of effort. But hopelessness, yeah, hopelessness were truly exquisite. Hopelessness were the ultimate sensation of human experience for me to feed upon. Hope, you see, is rather fucking unpleasant. Why, you may ask? Well, I'll fucking tell you, you bastard. Hope, you see. Hope resists. Hope tells a person falsely that tomorrow might be better than today were. Hope makes people difficult to control, but then there's despair, you see, and despair does the opposite, and a hopeless person doesn't fight. They don't run. They simply give, and so I learned to create hopeless humans. I learned how to make people fear when fear weren't necessary. I learned how to create... I love this word. I learned how to create hatred. What a strange fucking sentence that is. You see, it seems I love hate. I learned how to make them believe that their suffering was somebody else's fault. Blame. The blaming of others. I learned that a man who thinks his neighbour's responsible for his misery can easily be made to hurt that neighbour for me. And to feel hopelessness. And to hate doing that killing. But do it anyway. Humans are wonderfully efficient creatures when improperly motivated. I've never needed to kill or cause misery in, everyone. Myself. I mean, that would be exhausting, wouldn't it? I have to focus my attentions, you see, on a few. Far easier to persuade them to do majority of the graft. Over the centuries, I've enjoyed wearing many faces. I've been a tribal chief. I've been a noble soothsayer. In modern times, I've been a priest, a prophet, a physician, a counsellor, a sorcerer, a false friend. Once, rather amusingly, I was considered a saint myself. No surprises, that one didn't last very long. I've stood smiling beside kings when they declared unnecessary war. I've whispered into the ears of men who believed themselves chosen by God. Maybe some of them were. If that were the case, I broke that fucking covenant. I've warmed my hands on the fires of cities that burn. I've wandered plague-empty streets. I've been able to sit and enjoy when fathers bury the children. Ironically, there's less pleasure in watching children bury their fathers. But that's still fun at times. I've watched men create religions only to manipulate the central teaching into a message that says everyone outside their city walls deserve to fucking die. And through it all, I fed. I stay alive. I feed. Not always, I must make that clear. I didn't cause every war. I didn't cause every plague. I didn't personally engineer every famine, although quite a fucking lot of them. No, not everyone. That would be absurd. I merely helped out where I could. Sometimes through words. Sometimes leading men, for it were mostly men, to an idea. Sometimes a suggestion carefully placed in the mind of someone who were already angry. History's full of accidents, you know. I've simply become very good at arranging them. Then, into my life, came Christianity. That were troublesome. At first, I thought it would be just another religion for me to enjoy, another group of frightened people looking for answers, another opportunity for me to feed. Then something strange happened. They began talking about fucking love. And not linked to lust either, not linked to loyalty, not the sort of affection a king has for a useful servant. But love, forgiveness, compassion, the idea that a person could look upon their enemy and choose not to fucking hate him. It was strange and deeply fucking inconvenient for one such as my good self. At first, you know, I survived, of course. I always fucking do. But I did have to change my methods slightly. Then I found the Templars, and that were good for me. Bad for them. Men in armour, weapons, money, faith, ambition, and created enough blood to keep me very comfortable. I remained with these bloody men. Me, a beautiful worm in the eye of this Christian god. Then there were Bernard. I know, not a name that develops a sense of fear in a man. His true name were Bernard of Clairvaux. Saint Bernard, as you probably know him. I didn't know him as a saint. I knew him as a man. That was a problem. He saw me, you see. Really saw me. Not the face, not the title, not even the magic of the stories. But me. He saw through all of that, and he saw. Well, he knew what I was. I expected hatred. I was prepared for hatred. Hatred, I understand. Hatred is a language I've spoken for thousands of years. But Bernard did something far more dangerous. Yeah, bastard. He fucking pitied me. Now, I were not ready for that. He looked at the thing I'd become, and he loved me. Not because I deserved it, not because I'd earned it in some way, but because he believed I were a sinner, and sinners should be forgiven, and sinners, apparently, could be saved. That were infuriating. He banished me, but for my own good. But he didn't curse me in any way. He didn't torture me. He didn't seek revenge. He fucking prayed for me. He wished me well. I'll tell you what, that fucking hurt me, that did. Sucked me dry. Imagine the audacity of him praying. For me. I was almost killed by kindness that time. Literally. My power began to waver. The faith of Christians became stronger, as did the God. Beliefs create power, you see. Their hope became stronger, their beliefs in forgiveness became stronger. And I became weaker. So I fucked off. I fled. I wandered. I hid. Eventually, I found this forest. Breton. Old, ancient, full of things that existed long before men decided that everything required a proper name. I came here to recover, you see. You know, to feed on what were still the local pagans. Oh, they said they were Christian, but they still left gifts for the spirits of the forest, and they still danced on the longest day and all that bullshit. Here I could wait, and now I'm beginning to feel better. Well, not well. Not yet. But better. There is a difference. For a man such as myself, recovery is a process, you see. A little bit of fear here, a little bit of misery there. Perhaps a particularly unpleasant argument between an husband and a wife. A disagreement between neighbours. A child frightened by something moving amongst the trees. All that's useful. It's all nourishing. But ultimately, I need something more. Something truly substantial. Something that would give me enough power to remain here. And who knows, in time, perhaps even thrive. I'd already begun preparing for it. Pierre had helped. Pierre was always helpful. He'd been dead for quite some time, of course, but that had never stopped him from being useful. I looked across the little clearing. There were a stone circle there. It were older than the village, older than the church. It were older than Christianity itself. The stones were covered in moss and lichen, and most local people probably believed they were simply remnants of an ancient pagan custom. They were not entirely wrong. The stones were old, and old things remember. I spent several weeks preparing that circle. Circles had been carved into the earth. Some were Christian, but some were way older. And some of them were mine. There's no particular reason that magic should respect religious boundaries. Magic, unlike men, is rarely concerned with the paperwork. Pierre stood beside me. He was holding a large iron bowl. Inside it was something that moved. Then I looked at it. Then I looked at Pierre. Is it ready? Pierre nodded.
I think so, master.
You think so?
Yes, master.
I sighed. Pierre.
What, master?
When I ask if someone's ready, I require confidence that it fucking is.
Yes, master. I am confident.
Good.
Almost.
I stared at him. He smiled through a mouth that was a hole into horror. He looked down.
I'm 90% confident.
The halitosis as he spoke were glorious. That'll do. I turned back towards the bowl. Inside it, something screamed. Not loudly. Not in the manner of an animal. It were more like the sound of a person screaming from very, very far away. A spirit. One of the old spirits of the forest. The Christians had given it a new name. Demon. They'd given it horns in their stories. Claws. Teeth. They'd turned something beautiful and ancient into something evil. Humans are remarkably good at doing that. They encounter something they don't understand and they become frightened. Then they give it a name. Then they become frightened of the name. Then they teach their children to fear it. Eventually, the thing becomes what they believe it to be. Faith is a curious thing like that. That's how belief works. That's how power works. And that's why I were able to use it. I reached towards the bowl, and the spirit inside recoiled. Oh, don't be frightened, little one. You're going to be able to exact your revenge for what they did to you. It screamed again. I smiled. You've been frightened by them, judged and rendered a horror. I placed my fingers against the iron. I untrapped it and burned it, you see. I didn't know why it was in agony. That thrilled me. Again it thought I were trying to help. I am merely going to give you something useful to be frightened about and a way to deal with it. Pierre shifted uneasily.
Master?
Yes?
Is it dangerous?
I laughed. Course it bloody is.
What, even to us?
Only as much as the last ones were. It'll probably attack the villagers like the other ones did. It has a reason to do that, you see. Pierre looked unhappy. I ignored him. The spirit was one of the many that had once belonged to this forest. It had never been good, nor had it been evil. It had just simply been. A thing of the trees, of the shadows beneath the canopy, of deep parts of the streams, of the things that move beneath the leaves when men aren't present. Then the Christians arrived. They had called it wicked because it confused their beliefs. The villagers who had once been its friend now saw it as something wrong. Fear had done the rest. The spirit had changed because of this. That's what they do with belief. Not entirely, but enough. It had learned a shape that frightened men the most. It took on the shape that men had given it. That was exactly what I needed. I didn't need to create a monster, I just needed to give it this direction. Fear needs very little encouragement, you see. I began to speak. Not in Latin, not in the language of the church, not in any human tongue. The words were older than that. Pierre stood beside me, watching. The symbols around the circle began to glow and spit and sizzle. The spirit screamed its agony. The trees shifted in concern. The air became icy cold as I sucked it dry of the energy I needed. And it made me smile. Yes. The creature bubbled in the bowl. Tiny eruptions across the surface of the seething liquid. At first there were a sulphurous smoke. Then shadows crawled up into the edges of the iron container. Then a spider-like limb, black and spindly, struck from the surface to the rim of the bowl. Then came another, and another. Too many limbs dragged a body of sorts from the stinking ooze inside the pot. It screamed as its postulated surface expanded and grew. It flopped at ground. A birth of sorts. The earth seemed to recoil from its touch. Pierre vomited. I watched eagerly as I pumped my power into it. Its shape changed as it struggled to understand what I needed it to become. A horned thing, then goat-like, then a man-like, then something that were neither. I raised my hand. "No," I commanded. It stopped. "Not a wolf this time." I smiled. "Wolves are admired and understood." I thought about that for a minute. "Well, I take that back a little bit. Not by everyone." I waved the thought away. It were irrelevant, really. "The villagers must fear you. Part of that must be that you are an unknown thing." The creature shuddered as the essence of itself developed. I began to work the final part of the spell. Fear. I gave it more. Anger. I gave it more of that too. Hopelessness. I fed each emotion into it, forcing it, force in it meant that it hurt. It hurt the creature. Pain, you see. Pain. Pain lends more hate, more despair. Growing pains. And how the creature grew. Its body pulsed, tearing and ripping each pulse, allowing it to grow larger. Its limbs became stronger. They looked like iron. Its face became something that a frightened man might imagine in the darkness between the trees. Its many eyes opened and burned with an otherworldly, unnatural light. Pierre took a step backwards.
Master!
I fed on his fear. Yes, Pierre, what is it? He vomited again and wiped his mouth.
That isn't right.
I smiled. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I intended. The creature turned its head towards me. Things tore in its body as it did so. It was in so much pain, just from existing. Now, it waited. That was the important thing. Needed a purpose, a direction, a reason. Humans are not the only creatures that can be manipulated, you see. I pointed towards the distant village. You will go there. The creature growled. You will be seen. Another growl. You will not kill all of them. Pierre looked at me.
Why not all, Master?
Because dead people cannot be frightened, Pierre. You fucking idiot. He nodded. That was apparently sufficient explanation. But you will remember to hurt some of them when you get there. The creature leaned forward. Its limbs creaked. Every breath was a struggle for it. You'll kill some, you'll frighten many. It breathed deeply. And when they're frightened, I smiled at this, they will become angry. The creature's eyes burned brighter. It would pass on its torment. They will start to blame each other, you see. Neighbours will accuse neighbours. Parents will fear for their children. Children will fear the forest. The priest will tell them that the devil walks amongst the trees. That foolish fucking priest will be magnificent. I could already imagine it. A frightened village, a frightened priest, a frightened population. Fear becoming anger, anger becoming hatred, hatred becoming violence, and violence breeding despair. And once despair had manifested, that despair would become mine. I looked towards the little hamlet. The new church was visible between the trees. A small cross stood above it. Why did it now hurt my eyes to look at such a symbol? I could almost hear the bells ringing. Christianity, still causing me problems. I'd have to be careful. Bernard had taught me something. Bernard had taught me that love could be dangerous. Hope could be dangerous. Faith could be dangerous. But fear were reliable. I turned towards Pierre. Release it tonight. Pierre stared at the creature. Yes, tonight.
But there are new people in the village, Master.
I am aware there are new people in the fucking village. What's your point?
The knights, Master.
They're just God's shiny children.
I've seen wolves there too, Master.
I frowned at this. Why would there be wolves? Pierre shrugged.
I don't know, but there's two very big ones there, Master.
Dogs, Pierre. They're probably just fucking great big dogs in the village. He nodded. I looked back at my cringing creation. It were ready. Well, almost. I placed my hand upon its head. The creature trembled beneath my touch. My mere touch caused it distress. You, my darling, thing, are gonna teach them something. He looked at me. Something important. I smiled. You're gonna teach them that the forest is evil and dangerous. I paused for a moment to let that sink in. That the night is dangerous. Another pause. And most importantly, I leaned a bit closer. That there is no one coming to fucking save them. The creature opened its mouth. A terrible sound came from it. Not a roar, not a scream, but somewhat between the two. Somewhat that sounded almost human. I smiled at this. I have no idea what that meant, but excellent. Pierre looked towards the village, then back towards me.
What should we call this one?
I considered this. Names are important, you see. A name gives a thing identity, and identity gives fear somewhere to live. I looked at the creature. Nothing. Pierre blinked. I were inspired. Let the villagers name it. I smiled. They always do anyway. And so, while knights rode towards the village, while ancient wolf souls watched from the trees, while a forgotten dryad sat within the walls of a Christian church, I prepared to unleash something that should never have existed. I knew nothing of any of them. They knew nothing of me. And all that were about to change.
Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.